There's a quiet kind of panic that creeps in when everyone around you seems to be moving forward, fast. You see the milestones. The jobs landed. The relationships formed. The houses bought. The dreams pursued. And then you glance at your own life and think, wait, am I behind? That question has a sting to it, doesn't it? It makes your stomach sink, your mind race, and your confidence wobble. You start to question your choices, your path, your pace, your worth. But here's the truth no one tells you loud enough: you're not late. You're just on a different timeline. Let's pause on that for a second. Not late, just different. Different doesn't mean wrong. Different doesn't mean broken. Different doesn't mean lost. It just means not the same. But we live in a world addicted to sameness. There's this invisible calendar handed out at birth, full of expectations and deadlines you never agreed to. Graduate by this age. Marry by that one. Have kids, climb ladders, check boxes, smile for the photos, and do it all on time. But whose time? Who created this master schedule we're all supposed to follow? Because here's the thing, real life is not a factory. It's not an assembly line. It's not built for synchronization. It's a garden. Some seeds bloom in spring. Others wait for the heat of summer. Some need time underground before they ever break the surface. And some don't follow the seasons at all. But they still grow, still flourish, still belong. That's you. Let's be honest. Feeling behind isn't just about timelines, it's about comparison. You don't feel late unless you're looking sideways. You don't feel wrong until you see what's considered right for someone else. You open your phone and within seconds, you've seen the highlight reels of 10 other people's lives. The promotions, the engagements, the perfect vacations, the success stories. And that's where the ache begins. Because comparison doesn't just steal joy, it distorts your view of reality. You forget what you wanted, what you value, what you've been through. You start living someone else's timeline and hating your own. But what if your journey is longer because it's richer? What if your delay is actually your preparation? What if your slow season is the soil deepening your roots? You don't bake bread at microwave speed. You don't heal a wound by ignoring it. You don't build strength without resistance. So why would you expect your purpose to rush? Now let's get real. It's easy to say you're on your own timeline, but what if that timeline feels stuck? Like you're not late, you're just not moving? That's where the fear creeps in. Not that you're slow, but that you're stagnant. Here's what that usually looks like. You're waiting for clarity, but it never comes. You're waiting to feel ready, but the courage won't show up. You're waiting for a sign, but silence is all you hear. So you sit in the in-between, wondering if the door already closed. This is the moment most people give up. They quit the dream. They settle for fine. They shrink their expectations to match their disappointment. But what they don't realize is this: the in-between is sacred ground. It's where identity is formed. It's where grit is built. It's where the deeper questions finally get asked, because all the noise is gone. And sometimes, the pause is not punishment. It's preparation. Start here. Stop measuring your life by someone else's ruler. That's not your tool. You were never meant to fit into their schedule. You were meant to live your own rhythm. And if that rhythm feels slow, or quiet, or unseen right now, trust that it still has purpose. Try this practice. When you feel behind, ask, what have I learned that I couldn't have learned faster? What have I survived that taught me how to stay standing? Who have I become in the waiting? Reflect on those honestly. Because this isn't about speeding up. It's about waking up to your own life, your own path, your own becoming. Your timeline is not a mistake. It's the custom-designed pace for who you're becoming. And you're not late. You're right on time for your story. Let's go deeper. Because even if you understand that your timeline is different, it doesn't erase the weight of it. The late nights questioning everything. The birthdays that feel more like reminders of what hasn't happened yet. The weddings or reunions where you show up with a smile but secretly wonder, am I the only one still figuring it out? No, you're not. And the truth is, the ones who appear the most together are often holding their own questions too. Different questions, maybe, but just as heavy. That's the part no one posts online. That behind every achievement is a private chapter you didn't read. The job offer came after 10 rejections. The relationship bloomed after years of heartbreak. The confidence came only after deep insecurity. But no one claps for the process, only the result. You weren't born feeling behind. That idea was taught to you. It started subtly. A comment at a family dinner. So, are you seeing anyone yet? A question from a friend, still at the same job? An algorithm that shows you what success should look like by age 25, 30, 40. And slowly, without realizing it, you internalized this unspoken message. If you haven't made it by now, something's wrong with you. But that's not truth. That's programming. And like any bad programming, it can be rewritten. Because the measure of a life is not how quickly you get somewhere. It's how deeply you live. How authentically you grow. How courageously you stay true, even when the world says, hurry up. There are stories of people who didn't begin what changed their life until decades after everyone else had figured it out. But they weren't late. They were simply gathering the right pieces before stepping into the scene. Sometimes, the longer route leads to the richer destination. Let's dismantle that thought together. I should be further by now. Really? Based on whose map? Because that voice in your head is probably not even your own. It might sound like you, but it's an echo of expectation. Societies, families, even childhood fantasies that no longer fit your reality. Let's imagine this. Say you plant a seed. You water it. You wait. Nothing happens, for days. Maybe weeks. You start to wonder if the seed was bad. But what if it's just doing its work? Underground? What if the roots are forming, deep and strong, to support the bloom that's coming later? Now imagine if you dug it up because you were tired of waiting. You'd never see the fruit. That's what self-doubt does. It digs up your own process. But if you let time do its work, if you give yourself permission to not rush, to not be done yet, you'll be amazed what can bloom. Your timeline is not late. It's layered. And the layers are what make it beautiful. Let's get tangible now. If you've been stuck in the "I'm behind" spiral, try these simple mindset shifts and habits to re-anchor yourself. 1. Stop starting your day with comparison. Scrolling through curated lives the moment you wake up is like stepping into someone else's house before you've even looked in your own mirror. Instead, start your morning with one grounding question. What would today look like if I trusted my own pace? This isn't just motivational fluff. It sets your nervous system back to calm. It reminds your brain that you're allowed to be where you are. 2. Reframe delay as development. Every time something takes longer than expected, ask, what am I developing right now? Patience, skill, perspective, compassion. Growth isn't just what you achieve, it's who you become while waiting. 3. Celebrate micro milestones. If you only celebrate when you reach the final goal, you'll spend 90% of life feeling like a failure. Instead, notice the small wins. You got out of bed when it was hard. You chose courage over comfort in a tiny moment. You said no to something that didn't align. These are not small things. They are the scaffolding of your comeback. Now, here's something most motivational messages skip. You're allowed to grieve the life you thought you'd have by now. Maybe you imagined being in a relationship by now, or having a certain job, or living in a different place. And when that didn't happen, something in you broke a little. That grief is real. And pretending it doesn't exist doesn't make you stronger, it makes you numb. So let yourself feel it. Cry if you need to. Journal it out. Talk to someone you trust. But don't stay in the sadness too long. Because after grief comes clarity. And clarity brings power. You realize, just because that version of the future didn't happen doesn't mean your story is over. It just means the next chapter is being rewritten, on better terms. Yours. You're not too late. You're not too lost. You're not the exception to hope. You're simply unfolding at a pace that was always yours. So if you ever feel like you've fallen behind, remember, you're not too late. You're just on a different timeline. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly where your magic is meant to unfold. If this message stayed with you, maybe it's because it was meant to. And if you feel someone else needs to hear it too, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let this be a spark for someone else's journey. And if you'd like to keep walking this path together, I'll be right here, waiting.